Welcome to AfriFreedomChannel, where we unpack Africa's most pressing political and social issues. If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more important updates and thought-provoking analysis. Disclaimer: the views shared in this video are for informational and analytical purposes only. They are based on verified reports, parliamentary proceedings, and credible news updates. Recently, Lieutenant General Lanlam Konotsi made a shocking revelation before Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating the capture of law enforcement.
Our state security, they are forget him. You know why state security is taken there? And you know why it's given to the most useless people? It's the slush fund. It's how much? 4 billion? More than that. More than that. Of slush fund. Cash that you take and don't account for. When they went to Nazareth, that cash was used to support other candidates. That's what Cyril is talking about. That's why he must go to SCOP to explain what are you talking about. In the commission there is a spy that says we carried cash of they call it what? SSA to Nazareth slush fund. The Auditor General does not have access there. The Inspector General does not have access. Once the Inspector General forced to have access, they say the security clearance issue still have a problem. Even when they've cleared you, they just change it. There's a new information. That clearance is not proper. To destabilize you, not to have access into. So what is taken to the presidency is not SSA necessarily. It's the slush fund. They took that money there because he's going to conference this year. He's going to need that money. Because the Oppenheimers, the Ruperts, and all of the CR17 people, they can no longer donate. They are very scared. Because they say, well, Pella, we're going to be disclosed here. With this CR17, the way it's being challenged, one day some judge is going to give a ruling or open here. So we can't do it again, Cyril. You are in power now. You have to find a way of sustaining your campaign. The only way to sustain his campaign is by taking the slush fund. So he said he's taking a SSA there because it's dysfunctional. But SSA is not the only dysfunctional thing. Everything is dysfunctional in South Africa. Why SSA? Because there is billions in slush fund that you don't have to account for. And a lot of these people line up their girlfriends, they line up their nyatzis, concubines, they line up their families and say, these are spies. These are spies. And then that's where the money goes. And then they go and catch it from the other side. So that's why SSA is good. That thing is complex. I don't know if you will be able to run it because those people, the first thing they do is to scandalize you, not publicly. They come with a file like this when you are a minister of intelligence, like this. And then they say, we're trying to manage this thing. And then they give you a file. You find your SMSs that you are sending to concubines. And then your pictures in a shower. You're like, what happened? But don't worry, we've got it covered. Then from there you are in their pocket. Now you give me a file like that, I'm going to show my wife the first thing. Or this is what is happening. These guys gave me this thing. Because they want to blackmail me. You can go through it, you will decide if you are continuing or you are remaining here. Once my wife is proper, I take the file back to the office of SSA and tell them you can go to hell. No one is going to blackmail me. Why are you giving me this file? What do you want to do with it? Do what you want to do with it. Not going to live a life of a blackmail. So the reason ministers of intelligence are stuck and are undermined, those guys on arrival, they give you your file of gossip.
Confirmed what Julius Malema and others have long warned about: money from crime intelligence has allegedly been misused to corrupt the executive, manipulate politics, and even monitor members of parliament for blackmail. This raises a chilling question: if those tasked with protecting the nation are instead entangled in political schemes, who is really safeguarding democracy? Do you believe South Africa's institutions are truly independent, or have they been quietly captured to serve a few powerful interests? These allegations cut to the very core of governance. When state security budgets, funded by taxpayers, are used to settle political scores or enrich individuals, the public trust in government institutions collapses. Think about it: how many national crises remain unresolved because the very resources meant to protect the people are being diverted into shadowy operations? Should citizens continue to pay taxes into systems that may be turned against them, and what accountability should we demand? But the revelations in South Africa are not isolated. Across Africa, young people are rising to challenge failing systems. In Madagascar, protests led mainly by Gen Z are demanding the president's resignation, sparked by water and power shortages in the capital. This is not just about electricity or water, it is about dignity, survival, and the right to a future.
Protests began in Madagascar in late September, initially triggered by water and electricity cuts. Inspired by youth movements in Kenya and Nepal, and fueled by the power of social media, these demonstrations are the largest the island nation has faced in recent years. Since the protests began, the United Nations reported at least 22 people killed and more than 100 injured, figures the government has since denied. Although President Andry Rajoelina dissolved the government and briefly restored calm last week, protests have continued. Rajoelina responded to the unrest by saying that he was ready to listen and find solutions to problems facing the nation, but ignored calls for his resignation.
Missi Firenei, Missi Agence, Nanakara Masinano, and Zoe.
There are associations, agencies, and countries that finance this movement, and there are those who plan to seize power without going through elections, but simply take power and seek only to exploit Madagascar's mines as in other African countries. No one will benefit from destroying the country. That is why I'm telling you that if I'm here, if I'm standing here, I'm ready to listen, and above all, I'm ready to lend a hand to find a solution for the country.
Meanwhile, in Northwest Africa, Morocco is experiencing its own anti-government protests, with demonstrators demanding better education and healthcare. Hundreds have been arrested and injured after demonstrations escalated into riots across the country. The unrest has since turned deadly, with 2 people killed and many others injured. Despite Moroccan Prime Minister Aziz Akhannouch saying he was open to dialogue, the protests still persist.
We came for demands that we should not be demanding in the first place, but rather should have existed beforehand. The United Nations clarifies us as a developing country, not a poor one. Morocco has many resources that could make it an advanced and developed country.
She says, "We don't want it if it's not peaceful. The protests began peacefully, and we want them to remain peaceful. We want legitimate demands and rights that every citizen is entitled to. I think the government must respond to these demands for real change. Thank God, our country is safe and stable, and it must remain that way. We do not want chaos, and we will not be able to tolerate it. We are young people, still students, and our future must not be lost." On the other side of the world, hundreds marched in Peru over the weekend to protest against President Dina Boluarte's government, expressing discontent over pension reforms, corruption scandals, economic insecurity.
When leaders fail to provide the basics, and when governance collapses into corruption and neglect, is it any surprise that the youth take to the streets? Should Africa's young generation continue to tolerate broken promises, or is this the moment they finally reshape their country's destinies? The parallels are striking. From South Africa to Madagascar and beyond, a picture is emerging: state resources being captured, basic services collapsing, and citizens, especially the youth, demanding accountability. This is no longer about one country, it is about the future of governance across the continent. How long can African leaders ignore the power of a generation that refuses to be silenced? The revelations in South Africa and the protests in Madagascar remind us of a sobering truth: when governments lose sight of their people, the people will eventually rise to reclaim their voice. Africa's future will not be decided behind closed doors or through secret budgets, but in the determination of its citizens to demand better. What do you think? Are we witnessing the beginning of a new wave of accountability in Africa, or will the old systems fight back harder than ever? Stay with us here on AfriFreedomChannel as we continue to bring you deep analysis and fearless commentary. Remember, the struggle for justice and freedom is not a moment, but a movement, and movements never die.